February the 17th, 2017, starts with, is anachronism. I posted anachronism number 2688. It begins with an epigraph. We stare at each other like ghosts of another century. That's Ronald Palmer. It could be they are from separate centuries. Ron's written word whispers to me, without ink, should I add. Instead of two ghosts, say, from the 17th century, which isn't ours. No response. At least for a while. And then I clearly hear, ours? Two. That is precise and correct. I've not just been dreaming. I've said this aloud while sitting up sharply in my weather-worn bed in this dreamlessness. And with this quick snap from lying prone to becoming a 90-degree angle, and with a voice I am certain, because there's that stolen sentence lying there without much direct discretion, tucked away amid other words in them, the solid book held firmly within the grip of both of my hands, and now, directly above us, an epigraph, so to speak. I introduce to you this, my story. Anyway, as I might have already said, black gold sinks heavily into many hundreds of thousands of acres of a place called USA, circa the early 2000s. This becomes the hub and the hubbub of some importance at the time. I can't be certain why. Perhaps Miss Notley knows. And I swiftly scribble a note to myself to inquire something to that effect. I have an infection of the pancreas, or maybe it's the liver. This becomes important at the time. I'm not sure why. Scholars of history, and therefore of every subject once known trying to fit into a pair of academia, often distributed history books as autobiographies. This is known, this is obvious to all but most in a world where nearby, say, in the next galaxy, and unbeknownst to the tepid inhabitants of all this rather deviant rogue of a planet's tepid inhabitants, which included the fevered, the feeble, and the dead, as well as those who most often worked at will, and a few, legend has it, unwillingly, or at least subconsciously, slicing and dicing the so-called Earth, clearly participating in its early demise. A small coughing sound is heard from several audience members. Anyway, as I mentioned earlier, to no one in particular, nearby, say in an adjacent galaxy, who'd never heard tell of this rogue of a planet's surly inhabitants, the fevered, the feeble, the dead, and the so-called toiling, all murderers and mutterers, mind you. Anyway, as I might have already said,